All right, so you might notice here that this article is a little bit old, September 13th, 2017. This isn't the article we will be going into today, but nonetheless, I want to use it as context because as this City News article said in 2017, Toronto police refused to acknowledge use of stingray surveillance devices, and it just talks about this, stingray surveillance mechanism that the police use in order to spy on people and get their data. Canada's Privacy Commissioner is expected to release the results of its investigation into the RCMP's use of stingrays later this week. Stingrays are cell phone surveillance devices. They work by mimicking cell phone towers and capturing data from nearby devices. They have several different names: cell site simulators, International Mobile Subscriber Identity Catchers, IMSI, catcher, or mobile device identifiers, MDIS, but they all serve the same purpose: to surveil cell phone users in a given area. And I quote, "I think we should be concerned because as law-abiding citizens, we have a right to privacy and freedom and to go about where we wish to, communicate with whomever without fear of that our information is being intercepted," says Dr. Anne Kavukian, Ontario's former privacy commissioner. It's already been established that the RCMP and Ontario Provincial Police use the devices, and Correctional Services Canada has also been caught using them. And when asked, Calgary and Winnipeg police tell City News that they too use them. Despite repeated requests, Toronto police won't say whether or not they employ the devices. Well, there's some interesting, more recent stories that may change that a little bit. And, of course, this Vice News article from March 2018 says Canadian cops admit to using stingray devices to track cell phones en masse. And it goes into this issue at large. But I want to get into the most recent story here out of The Star. Thousands of bystanders, as it says, caught in Toronto police sweep of cell phone data. March 24th, 2019. Okay, a little bit more recent. As the article goes into, Toronto police and RCMP officers deploying controversial stingray surveillance technology over a 2-month period swept up identifying cell phone data on more than 20,000 bystanders at malls, public parks, and even children's toy stores. As police sought cell phone data for 11 suspects in a 2014 investigation, they deployed a stingray, also known as an IMSI catcher, at 3 dozen locations, including the middle of Yorkville, at the Dufferin Mall, at Vaughan Mills Mall, near Trinity Bellwoods Park, near Kensington Market, and at a Toys R Us store in Richmond Hill. A Toys R Us store. Think about this infringement for a moment, folks. This is a serious problem because, look, first of all, they deny for all these years that they're doing this. Second of all, this is a government, this is a state, the organized crime racket, utilizing people's data, claiming that they're doing some kind of investigation as an excuse, and then going in and stealing people's data, looking at people's data, extorting people of their data, their privacy, the things that they're doing, the text messages they do, and as people like Edward Snowden has noted before, they're dick pics. Yes, it's not the first time you've heard this. I'm sure the government has a whole lot of your pictures that you've sent over the years. Look, this is a serious problem because not only is it that the state is stealing your information and they just seem to get away with it because who is going to hold the state accountable? The state? What is most important about this going forward is with the implementation of the inefficient, coercive 5G technology. Now you're going to see with these hubs in front of every single house and everywhere you go, this massive web, this massive, I don't know what you would call it, just digital web, collecting information at a much greater rate while artificial intelligence, facial recognition is pushed to the forefront, as we've seen in places like China with social credit scores, people breaking the law by walking slightly diagonal on the street when there's no cars around, jaywalking or whatever you want to call it. getting their face put on big billboards on the street, shaming them, and a text message sent to their phone automatically through facial recognition technology that just automatically sends them information. Or police in China walk around with goggles on that have facial recognition and social credit scores built into the lens so that they could see as they're looking around who people are, where their background is, etc., etc. This is the technocratic superstate that we've been warning about, and we were called crazy for warning about for so many years. But here we have it, folks. Another example, and people might say it's minor. It's really not minor when you're collecting minors' information and some creepy guy in the state is looking at that information. Look, as this continues to develop, as we see government collecting our information, as we see this slow incremental frog boil to normalize the stealing of information, we have to realize this is the state that's doing it, the most coercive entity on the planet, the entity that has killed more than anyone in all of human history, polluted more, also stolen more, because that's their job. That's the only way they benefit, is by stealing your money and pushing you into control, kidnapping, and doing all sorts of crazy experiments that have killed so many people over history and destroyed so many lives. And destroying market innovation, pushing people into poverty, because if they're in poverty and in debt, they are in servitude to the state. This is huge. Now, as far as privacy goes, now, individuals only have a right to that which they defend. Otherwise, they give it up willingly, because it's up to the individual responsibility of the individual to defend their individual liberties. They only have it as long as they defend it. Otherwise, they do not have them. Nothing is intrinsic in life. It's only protected, defended. And defense is the hallmark of responsibility, which is the hallmark of freedom. So, as far as privacy goes, if an individual walks down the street and is on so-called public property, or at least not on your property, and looks in your window and you have your blinds open and you're changing in front of the window, as creepy as it might be for him to start staring, it's not an infringement as much as it is just you being irresponsible. Though, of course, there's creepy people out there, and you see fit in doing whatever you wish to certain people that are creepy and do creepy things to other people, including looking in people's windows. Once they're on your property, that becomes an infringement of property rights, but that is only defended by your individual responsibility. Anyway, breaking free from that, we're talking about the state. The state is an entity of organized crime, a coercive entity that only privileges itself by stealing your money, extorting you, and forcing its rule on you by the collective, because collective cheerleaders decide your fate in a so-called election. So, and yes, we're going into anarchy, we're going into voluntarism, etc. That is where it differs. You have a giant organized crime racket stealing your information. So what are you going to do about it, folks? What are you going to do? Are you going to get angry at this video and then sit back and do nothing, just knowing about it? Or are you going to say something? Are you going to do something? Of course, non-violently, but are you going to do something to demand an end to this? And while you're at it, you cut 95% of a tumor off, you still leave 5%. Are you going to leave that 5% left? Because what do you think is going to happen? It's going to grow. What are people going to do about it? It comes down to individuals like you taking some sort of action in order to defend yourself, your privacy, and make those moves in order to protect yourself and protect your family going down the line as well. We've allowed this to normalize by thinking that, oh, maybe a protest will work. Oh, maybe, maybe we'll just talk to our local representative. Like, that representative totally is fair and square because, a majority of this riding has elected them. Meanwhile, the other 49% are extorted, and that rule is enforced on them because other people decided what's great for everyone. And, it's the usual stuff that I talk about. Good ideas do not require force. Anyway, so what are we going to do about this? And this is a question I ask so often. How do we demonstrate freedom? How do we demonstrate responsibility? Because as the government is stealing children's information, stealing your information, 20,000 people unnamed, unlisted, who knows what kind of information they have? Who knows one day when they get rid of all these warrants and all this stuff that's inconvenient to them, who knows what kind of information they will use from these days of information collecting? You realize that someday certain things are going to be prohibited, some things are going to require lower social credit scores. I know I'm going to get it one day, where I'm going to get a really bad social credit score for criticizing the government, and then I won't be able to travel and all that kind of stuff. What are we doing about it? Why are we standing here and watching this happen? One day this information will be used against us. Maybe not today, maybe not legally tomorrow, but someday. And are you willing to take that risk? Are you willing to just sit back and go, yeah, well, that's in the future. Well, that future may come onto your doorstep very, very soon. And then we're going to have a major quandary to deal with. So, these dishonest henchmen that are stealing your information and using it for whatever they want while claiming it's for an investigation, they are a major, major problem going forward for all of you. And it's about time you look at places like China, which has been propped up going back to Henry Kissinger meeting with Mao Zedong and then moving into Zbigniew Brzezinski's creation of the Trilateral Commission to push China as the new empire, which it's set to overtake the United States alongside India as well in the coming years. What are you going to do about it? I think that's enough for you to maybe take some action. I'm not going to tell anyone what they can or cannot or should not do. But with that said, I thought I'd just give you some food for thought there. And you can make your own decisions and decide what is best moving forward as this entity, this coercive entity, uses you to sacrifice as a pawn for the king and the queen. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so heavily demonetized and censored by YouTube as these guys come in and flag all of our content as hate speech. The shadow banning is getting really bad, guys. Also, check our Bitcoin address right here on the screen or in the description below. We really appreciate it. And of course, check us out at the Red Pill Expo 2019. Of course, the great G. Edward Griffin and so many other incredible speakers will be there. Our link for that is below as well. And we cannot forget Mike Maloney's goldsilver.com, which you can also find in the description. One of the greatest market and monetary historians out there. We really encourage everyone to check that out. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.